Well, there we go. I guess we're live. If you're going to be joining the live program, then I'm happy to have you. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm having to use the mic off the actual device itself, but we're going to be looking at this painting. If you're not familiar with this painting, it's a 24 by 48. We've been in progress on it for about a couple of weeks now, on and off, day by day, and we've gotten to a point now where we're working on the foreground and the white foam and everything, and I've run into a couple areas I'm happy with, a couple areas I'm not happy with. When I release the final video, you'll be able to tell that the foam area I reworked several times, but today we're going to just kind of hem and haw around, and if you have any questions or you have any thing you're curious about, feel free to put it in the chat there, and I'll try to get to it as we're going along. But let's get involved here. Let me turn down the other mic so I don't have to hear myself, and we'll get started. Alright, where to begin with today? That's the question. Like I said from the previous statements, the white foam area there was such a hassle for me this time around. If you're not familiar, I did a little study not too terribly long ago, which kind of gave me a general direction as far as the colors I wanted to do on this larger piece. Gave me the scene. Obviously, you can tell it's only a portion of the scene. Probably stops about right here and right there in the 10 by 10 format, but really got a good direction on where to go with the colors, the depth, the shapes, and everything from doing a study. Like I said in the other video, if you haven't checked it out, studies are really great for doing such things as that. So let's take a look here. What are we going to start? I think this area is pretty much dry that I can go back in today and maybe start to rework it. Got my handy dandy little pad here to show me where I need to work on. And generally what I'll do is I'll just dig right in. Always keep my handy paper towels. Try to get as least messy as I can throughout the work day. Big fan of Liquid Original, in case you've never heard me say it before. That's probably about the only medium I'll use when working. I do paint in layers, and the Liquid medium allows me to get to work basically the next day. I don't have to wait for the oil paints to dry too long. Generally, if it's a thin layer, I can get to work the next day. There's a little downside to it. It does have a bit of an odor, but as long as you stay in a well-ventilated area, you're pretty good. But the Liquid Original will allow you to get right into your painting, generally within 24-hour time frame. I'll keep an eye on the chat here to see if we get any questions or if anybody stops on by, but I'm just going to get into painting and we'll see where we go with it. One thing I'm learning as I do these waves more and more often, depending on where the sunlight's coming in your scene, you can tell that the sunlight is coming from the top of our scene here because of the shadow. You can see the shadow of underneath. So the sun is actually in this general direction there. So much of the scene is going to be top lit. So on these whitewater areas and when the waves crest over and everything, most of the highlights will be on the top area. This foreground area will turn out to have a lot of light to it. Got just the base coat down right now so that you can see where the direction is going. But knowing where the light is coming from when you're painting is probably key to helping you decide where to place the shadows, where the depth involves regarding those shadows and the light, and to be able to really paint realistically, knowing your source of light. For us with this one, we get a lot of brilliant whites on this this whitewater here. Oddly enough, as I stated in the previous video, really thought the foreground area was going to be more of a challenge as it was in the little study, but it turns out this foam area, because there's maybe more of it, has turned out to be more of a challenge than the foreground is. Now, it's true I haven't got to the meat of the foreground yet, but so far the whitewater is becoming such a hassle, more hassle than the other areas. Maybe it's because there's several different colors involved with trying to create foam. And I think you've heard me say before, white water is not always white, and sometimes when you have the challenge of creating depth within the white water, you have several different shades of blue here. A lot of this I've painted is with the ultramarine blue, with varying different shadows of ultramarine or mixes of ultramarine and white. I did break out some of my grays for that also, so I could get some different value and a little depth to it. But we're trying to get these waters to crash over in a way that it looks realistic, and it's also going to feel like you can actually feel the wave crashing down on top of you. Put this base coat down just a couple days ago. I'm not sure whether it's going to be dry enough to work with. It looks like maybe it is, but we're trying to get this area to represent the wave folding over on top of itself, or the water rather. As it curls over, it forms down and bounces off obviously the shallower water, and that's where you get the foam to beat up on itself. So we're looking for a natural curl. I think I've gotten this area pretty good. You can see direction in it. Still not 100% sure we're going to leave it that way, but you can start to feel the cascading water as the wave falls over on itself. And that's really one key to painting waves in itself, is to see the motion of the water. Water is always going to be in motion unless you're dealing with a water of just stagnant, completely stationary water. And even then, it's going to have some kind of degree of movement in it. Just for the wind alone, you're going to have some ripples or whatnot. But one of the key features that I always pay attention is the direction. We know as this wave's coming along, as you can tell, the little whitewater area foams are all leading back into where this wave is taking that loop around and is crashing on top of each other. So all these different whitewater areas, the foam areas, should have a general consensus of either flowing this way or flowing up, as in with this situation we don't have so much going that way as much as we have it going up, and this inevitably will go up, and obviously as you tell it's crashing over. Always try to save just a pure white towards the end of my paintings. Reaching the tonal top end is always going to be white with regards to how bright can I get something. White's always going to be the brightest color that you can contribute to the painting. So always trying to achieve as much as I can with other colors and other variations first. But with the white, I save it towards the end. That way you can get to your tonal high point at the very end. Like right now I'm using primarily just titanium white to fill in some of these areas, because I really want to exhaust where that sunlight is hitting the scene. Looks like we got someone come in. So beautiful. Thank you for that comment. I pride myself in trying to make good looking art for everyone. Not just for everyone, but for myself. Can't imagine painting anything else. I try to always get a photorealistic attempt to it. Sometimes it's more successful than others. But that's always my strive to be able to get something to where when you look at it, you're going to determine right away, well, maybe that's not a painting, or man, that looks just like a photograph. Or more so, I should say, you won't be able to determine right away. I've had a lot of people over the years tell me, boy, I thought that was a photograph from a distance. And that's exactly what I strive for. Is I want to be able to challenge the human mind to be able to determine the difference between the art and the actual photography. And not that art isn't a isn't, not that photography isn't an art, but when it comes to painting, there's a little more aspect of it with a human element more than just point and shoot. Alright, so we've got this crashing in, so we need to have some kind of effect showing that the water is turning over here. And it's going to be capping out. I think I may add some more of my green Technicolor too. Add more of this into this area because this should be approximately the same color value due to the fact that this is going to be some of that deeper water pushing over. So here in a minute I might add some of that just to bring it through. I may even add some more to the areas here just so you can see it peeking through. Let's see. It's a very slow process, obviously, painting in the style that I get. And when you have to go back and reconstruct areas, it can get even longer. But I try my best to do one shot each painting that I do. I enjoy the painting process, but sometimes when you get on a struggle bus and you start to get into areas that are more difficult and more complex than the others, it's a little bit troublesome. So I try to avoid those troublesome areas as much as possible. Looks like this area goes up a bit more, so we'll extend it up. One of the problems that I've had, just so you know, is with the foam is I've found myself here recently wanting to get away from the grainy look of my paintings. And that's why I kind of reconstructed this whitewater area a couple times. I want to feel more fluent and less strokes to my work. So I'm doing my very best. I've only painted for 30 plus years and it's always an ongoing practice, but being able to have that one stroke and more fluid, more artsy kind of painting style is something I'm striving to do. So I'm trying to get away with these little shorts, get away from these little short strokes as much as possible. But within this area, I think the little short strokes will work a lot because of the fact that it is a tiny little whitewater just crashing over. Many artists could probably do it with just one stroke, but for me, it takes a few more areas to be able to work on. You're going to see me bending down to this pad, my reference, quite a few times. In case you're wondering, that's what I'm doing there. Just looking at my reference. Not sure whether I've ever shown the reference on camera before, but let me lift this up here for you and you'll get to see what I'm working with there. I think we're doing pretty good so far. There's the reference. Avoid the light there. And a little bit of delay on the stream and you'll be able to see the actual painting itself. So I think we're doing good so far. Leave me a comment if you think so. If not, tell me where I need to change it because I'm definitely open to suggestions. I'm not so into myself that I believe that I can always get the scene correct the first time. So I'm open to any help anyone wants to suggest. My eyes aren't always the best, especially as the older I get. I find that they're starting to fail me more and more. So if you see something that I'm not seeing, by all means, leave a comment. Hit me up and let me know, hey Lance, that area right there doesn't look quite right. I do that all the time with my family. Hey, what do you think about this area? What can I change? Does this area look right with you? Or does it look like total trash? Let me know. Looking pretty good so far. Let's see. So we're curling over here. It's not a full curl. Got some areas of beading up still. I don't know whether you're like me or not, but I'll get to a certain point where the artistic license will just take over, and I'll just put together whatever my eyes see and how it looks. As artists, we have that specific license that we can change the scenario up. A lot of artists don't even go from reference photos, they just draw up compositions in their mind. I've never had a mind that does that specifically. A lot of times I just go by reference. But at certain points, I'll get to where I'm like, well, what looks good to me? I'll back up, I'll look at it. All right, well, that doesn't show that way in the reference, but let me just change it because it looks good to me. And I think if it looks good to me as an artist and I'm the one creating it, then I think we're in good shape. Still has directional problems. We need to have this folding over. So it's coming from folding over. I'm going to show it casting over into the water there. I think we're getting closer though. Yeah, I think that looks good. We're working towards getting in the right direction anyways. This area isn't quite dry yet, so it's actually working to my advantage in the fact that it's mixing a little bit for me on the canvas, and sometimes that's okay when we're working with wet areas to be able to blend it out a little bit more. It doesn't look so rough on our eyes, so that's a good scenario. Let's see here. See anyone else? No, no one yet, so that's okay. We'll continue on our way. We're going to probably stream about an hour today, and then we'll go from there to see as far as whether we continue or whether we'll just shut it down in about an hour. Not sure why my one program stopped working there, but we'll keep going. All right. We definitely want to brighten some of this area up. See that the paint was more wet in that area because it started picking up some of that green as I'm working across. It's okay. Like I said, it all works towards the help in blending the colors out to where it looks more realistic. Still need to get more directional change here. That's looking better. May even come in after the fact and add a little more of our bluish shadow color to this area, because obviously as the water's kicking back, it's going to kick a little bit of a bluer shadow as it folds over. I think we're looking pretty good there. Let me take a look here for a second. All right. Tell you why I'm at it. I'm gonna go ahead and do what my brain keeps wanting me to do, and taking some of this green and incorporating it into the area there. I really feel like this should be more green here. That doesn't look too bad. Start to get all the connections together here, because this is the same green that I painted the bottom area with. This will help our whitewater area too. One of the common practices with oil painting is to start with your darks first, and it really gives you an identity to be able to judge the rest of your colors around it. I'm thinking maybe this area isn't reading correctly due to the fact that this green isn't as dark as it should be, or as vibrant as it should be. So let's add this in here, see where it goes. It's definitely looking better. Anybody new come in? Nope. All right, we'll keep chugging along. You may be joining this video after the fact, after the live stream. Same request goes. If you have any questions or you're curious about anything, make sure you drop a comment. Let me know. I'm pretty good about responding pretty quickly on them, so look for your answer within 24 hours for sure. But I'm here to kind of show my expertise and share my experience with everyone. So the only way I'm going to do that is if number one, you watch the videos, but number two, you ask questions. As once said, there's no stupid question except the one not asked. By all means, if you have a question, let me know. Alright, that's starting to look better. A few little stranglers here and there. And it kind of fades out to nothing. So far, so good. And this has a more. I feel like this bottom area here isn't showing correctly. It's obviously the same wave. There's a different height level or color differential that splits about right here, and that's where you get the actual foam part and from the actual fold over. It's all one wave, so I'm trying to relate that to see exactly how that's doing that. I think that's what's giving me the trouble with this whitewater area. It's being able to portray this is all one wave, but this area is folding over on top of itself. Obviously, as the wave crashes over, this is the part that's popping up, exploding onto the area that forms the foam, but it's all one wave. I'm trying to relate the depth difference between these two. Right now, it kind of looks like two waves, which isn't a bad view, except the top of our crest of our wave is up here. I mean, if the crest was down here, then you could say, oh, there's just two waves. This is the second wave coming in, but that's not the case. From our reference, this is all one wave. So this area here is still under challenge of how we're going to do or what we're going to do to get that to look that way. I need to throw a couple of these little, see what that looks like. Not terrible. Shows a little differential between the two there, so happy with that. Oops. There's definitely more emphasis to this area. Okay, still plugging along here, getting shape. If that's that, I want to come in and we'll cut that one off. That's pretty good. Add a little more depth to that area. Bring it out a little more. See what we can do with this white now. feel like I've spent the most time on this foam area. Yeah, I'm not sure whether I'm going to leave in the entire time I've spent on this foam or whether I'll take it out of the final video, but trust me when I say there's some hours spent on this foam area trying to get it the way I wanted it. It has turned out to be the most trickiest of all areas on this painting thus far. I may change my mind on that eventually, but for right now, it's definitely been the trouble child. But I think we're narrowing it down. I think we're getting it. It's always funny to me how artists can be the most harsh critics on themselves. I've had it several times where I completely dislike something or a piece of work I've done, and then turn around and someone say it's the best piece I've ever done, which has always shocked me. Artists were really critical on each other, but when someone else looks at it, they're like, oh my goodness, that's great. So maybe y'all are seeing something different. Like I said, if you're watching live or if you're plugging in after the fact, let me know what you think. I've already got one beautiful today, which is fantastic. Happy to hear that someone enjoys it. Let me know what you think in the comment. I'm open to the critics as well. Hey, Lance, that don't look right there. Or, man, that's the wrong color over there. Or, boy, that just doesn't look right. Put those in the comment as well. I'm happy to hear those just as much because I think that's how we grow. If everybody just lived their life in a happy-go-lucky way and no one ever confronted them when something was wrong or there was an area to improve, then I think we'd be just mindless robots running around this earth. But I think as long as it's done with the correct method, criticism is a great tool for us as artists to grow, as humans in general, but feel free to drop those harsh comments as well. I'm big enough and old enough to know that I'm not going to get upset about it. As long as it's a valid comment that I can see and your method of displaying it is correct, then I'm going to take it into consideration and we're going to grow together. That's the point of this channel, is to try to show my 30 plus years experience with art and the methods that I've learned over the years to be able to hopefully help you grow as an artist or help you just to have a fun moment outside of the world around us. I don't know whether it's showing up on camera or not, but you can see as I'm going to this white now, it's almost all pure titanium white. Because I've saved it towards the end and because I've restrained myself from using it just all over the place, you can really start to see that pop, or at least I can in person here. You may not be able to see it on camera as much, but rest assured, this white is actually popping pretty hard right now, and that's the point. Save that white towards the very end, and then once we've exhausted our tonal range, when we do get into that white, it's really going to show up because it's the only thing on the canvas that's going to be that tonal value. So save your whites for the end of your paintings, and you'll see that your pictures or your scenes will start to pop as well. Zoom in here and see what this area is doing. So we're gonna simply coming in this way. here. And I'm just using the pure titanium, like I said earlier. But you could definitely come in at this point, once it's completely dry anyways, and do a wash or just a cover over with a thin down white. There's a terminology for it, but for the life of me, it kind of slips my brain at the moment. But I think just a good pop of white really emphasizes your point. I think so far it's working. Let me know what you think. I think I've said it before numerous times in my videos over the years. There's real no wrong way to paint water. As long as you keep to a few technological or tech terms with respect to the physics of water, you're always going to produce something that's pretty spot on. Like I said earlier, the flow of the water is always going to remain consistent with the direction in which it's coming. Here you can see the wave being drawn in, so everything has a motion. You keep that into mind. Your light perspective is always going to be react the same way, so make sure you get your light perspectives the correct way. Water is going to respond to everything around it the same exact ways. Color of the water is going to be variant on the color of the sky. We know that, but depth also affects the color of water. Obstructions in the water affect water properties as well. Is there a rock in the way pushing the water around? Is there stuff under the water? Like when we go to the beach, we sometimes have the seaweed or whatever in the water. That's going to discolor it as we're looking through the water. The water color may be a bit different. Obviously, the shadows of something are going to change the color of water. So there's just a few things to keep in mind as we're painting water or waves in general. If we can nail those, I mean, you don't even have to get the color exactly right. I could come in here and paint this whole scene in the complete opposite of the greens and the blues here. And as long as we get those perspectives of how water reacts, it's going to look like a wave. You know, sometimes it's artists don't understand the difference between getting a 2D to look like a 3D. It all has to do with that science of, oh, well, what are you painting? How does it react? How does the world around us react? Water has those properties. Color depth, light variation, flow, and motion and everything. It all responds the same way every single time. So if you can nail those certain concepts in your mind, you'll be able to do a pretty good painting or a version of whatever you're looking to do. One of the biggest things I've always said with regards to my art, people ask, well, how do you get it to look just like a photograph, or how do you get it to look so realistic? And I've said the same thing ever since day one. The first thing you have to do as an artist is understand that we have to not kind of experience somewhat out of our mind when we're painting. When I look at a reference, I'm not looking for my experience. Well, what does that wave look like? What have I experienced with that wave? If I'm trying to take a 2D reference and make it 3D on the canvas, then I've got to paint what I see instead of what I know. I know from going to the beach and being around waves, this does that and that does that. That's good. That's going to get you halfway there. But if you want to make it look like a photo, if you want to have that reference translate into the canvas, then paint exactly what you see. You can work on the colors and the tones of the painting and everything, but paint exactly what you see, and I promise you that's going to go further in your art endeavors than anything else. Just paint exactly what you see, and along the way you can pick up those other little traits of being able to understand how water works, understand your color mixes, understand the art itself. But paint exactly what you see, and I promise you that is going to go much further for you than any other art class could ever give you. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine to this mix and try to cover in some of these areas to give it a little more shadow and a little depth to it instead of just being white. I think that might help with the portrayal that there's a little bit of depth here. As you can tell, that the inner parts of this foam crashing over, that's all been done with ultramarine and the different mixtures to kind of saturate it, but I think we have a little bit of that going on up here, so I'm going to try to add a little bit of that to this equation to kind of give us a sense that there's multiple layers of water folding over here. I have a habit of trying to overwork areas sometimes, so at some point I may just need to step away from this, give it a day, give it an afternoon, sometimes maybe even more, to let it sit and really take a look. Okay, well, where are we doing right? Where are we doing wrong? I mean, I feel that we're close. I don't think it's reading exactly right just yet. But we're getting there. No rush on this piece. It's just for my own personal use. Probably going to be a centerpiece in maybe a upcoming show in September that I have. A solo show action. I may try to do another one before now and then. We'll see how it goes, but definitely has no rush on this painting. It's not spoken for as of yet. Looking good though, I think. I think this little lighter blue color mixing with the green is giving me the effect that I'm finally looking for. I don't know how well this is reading on the camera here, but in person it's looking good. It appears to be that it's mixing with the other colors because they weren't quite dry as of yet, and that's alright because that's what look I'm trying to shoot for. You never want hard edges with art. The more realistic you want it to look, the more soft edges you need to give it. I mean, that may vary from scene to scene with regards to the genre of painting you're trying to do. Maybe abstract painting or something like that may want hard edges, but as a realist painter, I want to try to avoid the hard edges as much as possible. That's why you don't see me do a lot of man-made stuff. Man-made stuff is most commonly where you're going to find a lot of the hard edges in the world. I don't do a lot of man-made stuff. I have in the past, but it just doesn't do it for me. I enjoy doing nature. That's why also you don't see me doing a lot of portrait work, because I can come in here and I can totally just change that way, design altogether. I could throw this white water that way and this white water the other way. And if someone comes in and looks at it, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people look at it, they're never going to know the difference. Same thing with trees or whatever. I can put a leaf here, I can put a branch there, and you're never going to hear a complaint. No one's ever going to say, oh, that looks wrong. Because nature can be anything. But when it comes to humans, if you go and throw an eyeball off even just a centimeter of the direction that it should be, it's going to be evident almost immediately. You go putting a nose a fraction of a centimeter off, it's going to be noticeable immediately. And so, although I've attempted to do a portrait of my wife a while back, I'm not a portrait painter. Not saying that I couldn't be, but the specifics of what it takes to be a portrait painter, or even an animal painter or such, I don't know that I have that patience for it. I think it can be attained. Like me, anything's possible. I've never had a full-time art instruction. Never went to college for my skill set. It's always been self-taught, just years and years of trial and error. In case you don't know, I've actually started with acrylic paints. And about 3 years ago, got to a point where I felt like I've exhausted the capabilities of acrylic paints. Now that doesn't mean that I actually did. That just means my opinion was that I had reached it. As I look on Instagram sometimes and see some of these paintings, and I would swear to you, because of the vibrancy and because of just the pure awesomeness of the painting, I'd swear, okay, that's an oil painting 100%. But then I look into the details and the description, and they've done it with acrylics, and I'm thinking to myself, ugh, how in the world did they pull that off with acrylics? I don't know. Here, living in Florida, acrylics were always a challenge for me because I'd put them on the canvas, I'd turn my back, and I'd turn around, and it'd be dry. If you've ever worked with acrylics before, you know their dry time is quick. Yeah, they make retardants to slow the dry time down, but when you live in a hot environment, humidity and all those factors affect the acrylic paint 100 times more. Not so with the oil paints. Unless I want them to dry the next day or whatever, oil paints, a good oil paint will last you days, maybe even weeks sometimes, just depending on how you preserve them. So that's why that and the vibrancy of the colors. Oil paints for me are the number one way to go. Not that acrylics isn't a great medium as well. Like I said, I spent years with it. It's just because of my circumstances and because of my scenarios where I'm at now. Oils are the way to go. I think I like pulling that foam down a little bit. Lost my color there. Let me brighten it up. Hopefully some of this is what I'm doing is portraying on the camera for you. I hate to be talking and doing all this stuff and saying what I'm saying, and you look at it and say, my goodness, I can't see nothing. We're working on, obviously, the technical side of this. Hopefully you're able to hear me as I'm talking as well. I'm pretty sure you're able to. But we're working on our technology and our tech-savvy instruments that we use to record with and everything, and we'll eventually get it as we progress. There's no rush. Right now I think we're pretty satisfied and happy with the direction we're at. I think I'm about ready to get away from this area though, because it feels like I'm just pilly-paddling with it. So we may try to work on something else while we're at it. Let's see, still got a couple people in the chat here. Let me take a look at how long we've been on. About 52 minutes. We'll go a few more minutes here just to kind of see if anyone else wants to show up. But either that, we'll call it a day and consider it a lesson learned. We'll walk away acknowledging that we now know how to do a live stream and what it's going to take to do the next one. If you're watching this in the future and you weren't able to join the live stream, make sure you drop a comment. Let me know, hey, sorry Lance, I wasn't able to make that live stream, but I really enjoy your content. Really would like to hit it next time whenever you have a live stream. Make sure you let me know that in the comment. And always, it feels redundant at this point, but if you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd love to have you. Love to be able to share my experience with everyone. Generally like to get on a schedule of posting a video a week. Obviously, I'm going live this week due to the fact that, as you can tell, I'm not ready to release the full video on this. I've got 11 pieces of this video for this painting, or this piece, 11 partial pieces, and you can tell we're not anywhere close. Those 11 pieces are cut down to about 1 or 2 hours for each. So if I was to throw all that up now without some creative editing, we'd have a 12-hour video, and I don't think anybody wants to get into that. So we'll get this out. Hopefully you'd like to finish this within the next week or so, at least. And then once I do, I'll release a full video, a little instruction along the way as well. I've had a few people make comment that they want to see a longer video, more instructional videos. I'm down for that. I don't know whether it can be accomplished through live stream or whether the best way is to do it through the long form video, but if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. Obviously, the more I know what everyone likes, the better I'm going to be prepared to give you what you're looking for. I mean, I'll do this whether you're watching or not, because this is something I enjoy doing. But the whole aspect of this channel has been from day one to be able to instruct and to be able to show how I do it. May not be the best way, but if you find value in it and if you want to learn, let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know your experience. Give me the criticism rather. Or just give me the praise. If you're watching this in the future, always also hit the like button, let me know. Get a good judge and sense of what everyone likes by the like button. Sometimes the algorithm isn't exactly honest. That's why leaving the comments and the likes really show me, okay, well, I mean, they not know this person up front. They may be a subscriber, they may not be a subscriber, but I know that they like this. Why? Because they showed it in the comment section, or they left a like on the video itself. It really helps me create content that you're going to like. Like I said, I'll do this by myself. I don't need anybody to come in and watch for me to do it. This is something that I do. I think we're going to maybe walk away from this area for now. Just give it a day. Let me look at it, see what it looks like. I think we're getting there. Not 100% there yet, but we're getting there. I think I'll, for the remainder of the day, focus on this bottom area. And I'll have that on the full video next time we get together. But once again, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you're watching this either now or later in the future, go ahead and do so. I'd love to have you. Love to hear what you're looking for. Love to be able to do content for the community that is going to be something that everyone likes. Obviously, we're not going to be able to please everyone, but I'd like to have a channel that where when you come on or you see my video each week, you know that it's always going to be something interesting. It's always going to be something to learn. If nothing for entertainment value, it's going to be enjoyable. So we're going to sign off now with this live stream. I don't want to get it too long for those who are going to watch it in the future. But if you join the channel, thanks for coming in. We'll see you guys next time.